everyone, it's Trena from John's Furniture Repair, and I'm in the shop today with this Morris style chair. Morris chairs were kind of from the arts and crafts era, and you see a lot of styles in this type of furniture that are kind of based on that. Anyways, this is in for a restoration, but not a refinish. The original finish is still intact, if that is what it is. But there are some issues. First being, she's pretty wobbly, but there's a few other things. Let me show you some details and then we'll get to work. Okay, so this type of rocker in the past would have had an upholstery that attached to the frame in the front and the back. But the customer has had some cushions made and is using it like that. So we're going to take care of these front and back rails that have a few little splits, as well as all the nail holes and a kind of an ugly finished top edge. So we'll fix that up. The whole chair, I think every single joint is loose. Got a couple of damaged joints. This arm has a crack in it there. And I'm sure I'll find more as I go, but you can just kind of see the light of day right through the joints right there. And that's pretty normal. Main issue is we've got a rocker that was repaired in not a very nice way. I think we can probably save this rocker, but definitely not like that. So we've got 2 screws at the end and 4 screws here at the front. And then, yeah, we're gonna have to take those out and see what's going on there, if we can salvage that rocker. We do have some broken off screws going in here, and looks like a split in the joint here as well. I'm gonna find stuff on this rocker. I'm sure it's been kind of retrofitted, so there'll be some stuff a little bit dirty, so we'll give it a good clean because we're not refinishing other than a couple of areas, probably the rocker and those front and back rails. But first things first, let's get it on the workbench and get this guy apart, see what we're dealing with. I'll put a new in the front. Oh, the front. Yikes, so many screws. I don't know if some of those screws went into there. Those are different heads.
No,
I think there is a dowel.
no screws.
Just everywhere.
Oh. Pretty much have to take it apart and redo the rocker.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, I've got this apart, pretty much fell apart, so that's always handy. Anyways, these rockers they had more screws than I could see even when it was sitting there. It looks like everything's kind of fallen apart here, and someone just decided to add screws. This is original, that screw, but these are all trying to hold laminations together. This one especially had a lot of screws on top and the bottom. This piece is trying to be held in place, and it is cracking and dry, and the glue jobs are not very good, so we'll have to redo all of that. The other piece that needs some attention also had these screws in here, so they're going to be hard to get out. They are brass, so at least maybe I can drill them out of there and just leave that alone. Other than that, we just had one little or a couple cracks on this joint that we can deal with, but everything's got a lot of glue. So someone has been in here pretty thoroughly. And just like you can look at the arms here, especially this one, the underside of the arm has just caked glue everywhere. And that, I mean, gathered dust over the years too, so it's not all somebody's fault, but like that's really excessive. So we'll go through every piece. I'm sure I'll find something else that's broken, but we'll go through every piece and clean out the glue, drill out the holes for the joints, take out the screws, and get rid of these giant chunks of glue everywhere. Okay, last night I glued this piece on. I used the screws just to keep it aligned, so I'll take those back out. It's the only thing they're good for. That looks okay. We're gonna have to break apart the rest of these. So I'm just gonna get my chisel underneath. It's kind of a double break here. Oh, shop dog's barking at something. Okay, continuing on here. It was nothing, just like it always is. There we go. And then there's two sections back here that are coming out. What is that, hot melt glue? Look at this stuff. Definitely doesn't stick to the wood. Which is great for me. So these, just so you don't know, if you don't know, these are the actual lamination points when the rocker was built. It's not that this thing has split apart in weird ways. That's how they're made. To get the curve, you would need a really thick piece of wood, or you can just laminate pieces on to get that whole curve. So that's how they do it, just to save on wood. That one looks like it wasn't glued again. Okay, so I'll probably do this in stages just because it's a little bit cumbersome. There we go. And then I can't slide off. Might use some of these screws for the alignment. I think this one was aligned okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll just use these to hold it in place and then clamp it as well. And we'll take them out afterwards. Okie dokie. So I've got some Forstner bits picked out here. I like to use my old doll bits to clean out any chunks of glue. Sometimes, depending on the type of glue, this isn't a very good idea because it'll actually heat up the glue and spread it everywhere around the joint. So I just got to keep note of what glue is in each joint and how that's happening. If that does happen, usually if you just soak it in some stripper, that'll come out. And then you can get back to the raw wood for the joint. But anyways, first of all, I'm going to get some of this glue off here with my handy dandy detail scraper that they've kind of squished in between joints, making sure they don't come back together nice and tightly. With one of these guys, I'm just going to grab the dowel and wiggle it. This one is loose. I'm just going to work it out of there. And if these are very damaged, replace. This one is missing some wood there, so that's going to affect how tight that joint is. So we'll grab some stock and cut a new dowel. Okay, the original one doesn't really have it. They have these lines that go across that way. But I like to leave... I cut a channel with my saw where if there is excess glue in the joint, it'll pop out the top, and instead of creating hydraulic pressure and splitting the joint, which often happens, you know, in these type situations, that'll make it a little bit worse. In this one here, when I replace this one, I'm not going to do this because I actually want hydraulic pressure to push the glue into this crack, because I'm going to glue that at the same time. So let's drill this guy out here. There we go. And then I'll just clean up the rest of this surface here while the dowel's out of the way. Might have to get a heat gun on this one. It's very tough. Okay, so all of these pieces have been repaired and are in putty right now. These two here got plugs, and then there's a lot of wood missing in the transition where it had chipped off in between the glue ups here. So I've got some epoxy putty in there, which will be hard enough to rock on. And that'll be good. We've got a bunch of plugs along all of the holes. And we're going to give these a pretty good sand. We'll be refinishing the rockers for sure. The other pieces in the chair, I'm probably going to end up sanding just everything with 220. I'm not supposed to be refinishing this, but there's big globs of glue and a lot of cracks in pieces that, you know, we're gluing up and repairing, but the crack is still visible. Looking at the underside of some of the pieces, I see a lot of gray oak, which means it's been outside. So the wood is cracking out of being dry. These guys were in good shape after we got off, just a couple of little cracks in the dowels. But after we got off all that excess glue, they were fine. This piece was good. This has a crack back there, and I had to do a repair here. This one was okay. These two were pretty bad. We had the glue up. There was some wood missing, cracks on both ends. Really, really, you know, you can see the globby glue here. Really nasty glue up as well. Just some dry spitting on all of the wood. And this one had those 4 brass screws in. So these are plugged and filled. And same thing, you know, cracking up there. And we had to re-glue this whole piece. So those will get a sand. And then these are where the old upholstery used to attach to. So I've got those puttied up there, waiting to get sanded. And then I did re-glue these wings back on already. But these had a ton of glue. All of the dowels were loose. And other than that, they're just a little dry. So I'm going to sand everything with 220. And we'll be staining over everything. And I'll just have to finish over the whole thing. So it's pretty much a refinish, but not like a full refinish. So it'll be a really light sanding. And that'll just have to be, I mean, it'll be fine. I've done this process lots of times where you just kind of do a partial refinish and it turns out really good. You don't have to get into all the stripping and getting it really perfect because that's not what we're going for, but getting up all of the little cracks and holes from old nails and all of the issues taken care of and then doing a nice stain over actually does look pretty good. So we'll get this looking nice and put together. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this putty on most of the pieces dry and then I'm gonna go in and sand right now. The only thing we have left to do for joint prep is clean off any remaining glue that's on the dowels themselves. Lots of them have been replaced, but there's a few. So I'm gonna go through each piece, give it a sand, and rasp those dowels. And I think because I have replaced most of the joinery pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and use hide glue to reglue this. Should be fine. And that way we can keep it with what it was. Not that it was, again, there was another poly type glue added to this or whatever the heck that stuff was. It was hard as rock. So, but that's fine. I'll do hide glue this time. So in 100 years, whoever deals with this again can thank me. Wood glue is fine too. It's also reversible and it's not like some of the glues out there that is just super messy and crazy to work with and doesn't come off anything. You can heat it up and soften it. So I could just use wood glue, but the hide glue is warmed up, so we'll do that. So let's sand, rasp, and get this thing back together. a doozy. Sometimes a chair is not put together right before you get there, and then you mark it in place with your little pieces of tape. You go to put your chair together, and those pieces weren't in the right spot in the first place, and really, messes up the whole game. But because we were using hide glue, we were able to just have that nice long open time and get it together. But geez. So let's get some clamps off here. That back piece with the two vertical slats, one of the slats is definitely cupped the wrong way. So that didn't help either. And then just a lot of, well, I had to trim my dowels, which as I went, because I just wanted to have them as long as possible. So that was a little bit of extra work. But also everything was just marked wrong and not quite working and just a little bit difficult for some reason. I don't know. But we got it together. Sometimes it's just a little more difficult. Rocking chairs can be quite a bit of work. Sometimes when you have the rocking chair that has the two dowels at both the back and the front, that can be quite difficult because you have to get them on at the same time. But with this one, this is a screw here, it always was, and then the dowel at the front. So I can position this afterwards. And I do want to put a couple coats of finish on this in color before I put them on, because these had a lot of work done. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through, take all the tape off, clean up the glue that's everywhere. Because one thing I do not appreciate about hide glue is the absolute mess it makes. It does not stay where you want it to stay. Okay, so I've got the whole thing sanded with 180. I did a little bit of putty work on some areas that were sharp gouges or whatever. Nothing too perfect, but just all nice and smooth. You're not going to get a sliver when you hang out in this chair. So we're going to start with some color here. I'm going to use Goudy's Harvest Oak. Hard to read on my dirty cans here, and this is just a nice color similar to what it was, because we're not changing the color here. Let's just start at the top here. Not going to be a massive difference, but it'll look really nice and cleaned up, and you're going to start to see a lot more character of the wood rather than all the damage. It's a nice color. Yeah, so there's a lot of previously bad sanding on this piece, unfortunately. I did take out a lot of it, but not a ton. You can kind of see these cross-grain scratches in the corners there. I took it out on some of the worst offensive pieces, but those ones aren't the worst there. There, it just really cleans it up so nice and gives it back a little bit more of its charm. The chair's been through some stuff. We don't know. There, so that's kind of where we're gonna take it. Looking really good. We've got a lot of areas that I had to strip right down, like those areas on the chair that the staples used to hold the old upholstery. And then these posts were in really bad condition. This is the one that had all the screws in it and the brake. So that one is pretty much a refinish. And of course, our two rockers over there. So let's get the stain on the rest of this guy and watch it come to life. Okay, so I consider it illegal not to do something about this. Just gonna clean it up. We're not gonna change anything. We're just gonna make it a little nicer. The screw holes are kind of raggedy where they had the screws in there, and it's just a raw piece of plywood. So let's chamfer or countersink this screw hole on both sides so it looks a little nicer. A little bit more of a finished look. And then I'm gonna just sand it with 320 because it's plywood to get it nice and smooth. And then we'll put some stain on it and finish it as well so it's not, you know, sticking out like a sore thumb. All right, it's the next morning. I got these rockers on last night. They looked good enough to install without having to do too much toning on the plug repairs. They're looking pretty good. This is the one we really had to work on getting all those screw holes out and regluing every section. So I will be putting a coat of lacquer on the bottom just to protect it. But this is fine for now, just so that we don't rub off some stain on somebody's carpet. So yeah, let's get the clamps off of this. I think we're gonna head off to lacquer because everything's nice and dry now too. And we're pretty much there. So let me get these clamps off and off to our outside booth. Okay, there she is, all put together. That beautiful oak shining through now. and it's sturdy and ready to do some more rocking for the next 100 years. So I've got those repairs to the rockers made. They're all re-glued. All the joints and laminations are nice and tight. We've got a bunch of plugs hiding those old screw holes and the repairs. All the cracks in the joints are gone. Everything's looking put together and it's feeling great. Got our plywood piece just looking a little more jazzed up and feeling a lot smoother than just the raw plywood. So that'll be a good base for the cushion. And yeah, I'm glad to get this little guy back together. Sometimes we do, you know, or actually most of the time we do just regular furniture people are using in their homes. And that it's a real shop. So that's what we're doing, you know. You look around in this shop, we've got pieces that just belong to people in their homes that they're using every day. I don't have a sensational piece every week. It's just good old furniture repair and here for the people who need it. So I hope you enjoy this type of thing. If you do want to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description below this video. And I just appreciate you guys being here and being part of this community because you're the most encouraging, lovely community I've ever been a part of. So thanks so much. We've been moving into the shop this weekend. Snow's gone outside and things are happening, but you can kind of tell that this shop or my garage is getting a little emptier. So a lot of my tools are over there, kind of half here, half there. This whole place is in a state of disorganization in the middle of projects that are still going. So it's kind of crazy right now. I'll show you what it looks like in there. Okay, so we're in the shop and you can see we emptied the container, the shipping container, and got a lot of stuff in here this weekend. So some shelving over there and some storage. My old workbench from Ontario. It's like having an old friend come back to life. So I love that guy. Maybe some of you recognize it from previous videos in Ontario. But yeah, that's looking good. We got some more furniture in recently. That's exciting. Some more gnarly restorations. And just in the middle of getting some wood storage. Got that giant cart that I built a few years ago hauled over here, and we've got all this wood that needs organizing onto the cart or into places. So yeah, we've got more shelving and workbenches being built, and everything's just kind of in the middle of everything. So chaos, but I'm really excited. It's looking good. I've actually had a lot of problems having energy to be excited about things just because it's been such a long journey. I don't feel bad or anything. It's just sometimes you get tired, you know? Check this out, you guys. This is mine, and I'm going to restore it one day when I actually get to work on my furniture. But isn't that cool? This is an old carpenter's workbench. They're actually quite valuable, and this one needs some work. So pretty cool, hey? Don't worry, I'll show you. I'll show you when I get there. That's gonna be a really nice helper in the shop one day when we get her back together. So looking good. Anyways, that's how we're doing in here, and still no new doors, still no reframing of the windows. I've just decided to kind of start sticking my junk in here and getting it all looking like a mess. That's how I like to work, I guess. Everything everywhere. I don't know, that just seems how it is with my life. Anyways, stay tuned. We're gonna be in this new studio space very soon, and it's gonna be exciting to bring you videos from a bright, new, shiny shop that I'll probably dump a 5-gallon pail of lacquer on or something, or stain, who knows. I've been known to make a mess. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you're still enjoying this channel, even though it's been a little bit spaced out these days, but thank you so much for staying with me through this whole transition period. I'm doing okay. I'm fine. We're just transitioning. So I hope you are all doing really good too. And I hope that we can get through this weird transition time together and continue to fix beautiful furniture and just hang out. So thanks so much, everyone. Love you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.